What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I'm going to be reviewing the new Tales from the Borderlands game. And well, let me start off just by saying in the beginning that I did receive a code. I got a code the day the game released, so I do want to thank them for that, and I appreciate it. And it's not going to change what I'm about to say. I'm going to go through some of the positives. There are a couple, and then I'm going to probably rip this game to shreds. Overall opinion, I'm not a fan. I didn't like this game one bit. I think this is one of the most insulting things you could ever do to any franchise, let alone Tales from the Borderlands is an incredible one. Let me kind of start there. Let me say something real fast. Tales from the Borderlands is one of the best games ever created. It's an incredible, episodic, story-driven game with one of the best cast of characters with Reese, Fiona, Sasha, Loaderbot, Gortys, so on, so on, so on. It's incredible. And for them to take that game, and then obviously that was Telltale, this is Gearbox, and then for them to say, well, let's make a new one, and let's just go completely off the deep end, that's exactly what they did. But let's start with a few of the positives. I do think this game looked good. I think visually, if they were to make a new game, like now, which is what this is technically, right? The game does reflect that. It looks like a 2022 game in the same vein as, right? Like it has to have that. I don't even know what kind of artistic style you would want to classify it, but it feels, or it looks like, I don't know if it feels like, it looks like Tales from the Borderlands. And, even though Reese, what they did with his character, and that goes back to Borderlands 3 anyway, it's taking it in a different direction. These characters do look like they belong in the franchise. There's not necessarily, I like to talk about lighting because I do think lighting tends to sometimes make games look really, really good or can hurt them. There really isn't lighting to speak of in this game. It's just more of the visual style that they're going for. But I do think they nailed it. The sound, I do like the sound. How it ran actually really well. I actually played on PC. I don't play many games, even though I have a pretty powerful computer. I don't play many games on the PC, but I did play it. I maxed out the settings. I played it on the highest stuff, and it looked good, and it ran well. There were really no problems. I didn't get any crashes or anything. So it is a fully functional. I like the visual style, the music. Obviously Tales from the Borderlands has that just a thing with it, where in the beginning of every chapter you would have that cool little song. Things would either go in slow-mo or they would be kind of quick cuts, and they would show multiple things going on. The heart of that still remains. And beyond that, I guess Anu is my favorite character of the three of the new characters. You obviously play as all three of them. She's not good. She's absolutely not good, but she is the best of the three. What I will say, and I found this very funny when playing, and I would rant. I ranted quite a bit to my wife, so thank her for putting up with me as I did it. A lot of the side characters in this game are actually really well done. There's a character that kind of pops out of nowhere multiple times to play the tabletop game that you play in this game, and the game's fine. It's nothing too special, but that character is very funny. That character is really good. Some of the guards in this game are hilarious. Some of the robots some of them are really, really good as well. So honestly, the characters that you spend the most time with are the worst ones in the game, and they are the worst ridden characters. But a lot of the side ones that you spend 5 minutes with, that you don't really see all that much, I don't know if it's different writers or whatever, but they're actually really well done. So I actually am impressed, and I would laugh. I literally laughed out loud several times, and I said, why can't the main characters be as good as this guard for the 2 minutes that we're with this guard? Why can't the main character? There's a couple side characters, like Louis is pretty good, and he's not part of the main cast, but he's, there. So I would consider him a little bit of an outlier in that regard. Timmy is one that kind of pops in and out throughout the game. Not really, even a side character. I don't necessarily think of it. Reese is okay. Obviously, the Troy Baker thing is sad, and I don't know if we've ever even gotten an actual, explanation of what happened. He has said that they never asked him to come back. They said that, well, actually, they lied first, and then they also said that he turned the role down. So I'm going to probably trust Troy Baker on this one, but he's okay. He doesn't have too much to do or say in this game, so when he's there, it's cool to see a familiar face, and then beyond that, it's just please don't ruin him. And they kind of did mess with his character. I know in Borderlands 3 they messed with it as well. They didn't change it back, I'll tell you that, in this game. So honestly, that's kind of where the game's strengths end. I guess the one other positive, and this maybe is not a positive depending on the person, this is basically a movie. Now, I know, like, when you think of that, you think, like, okay, Metal Gear 4 has some of, like, the longest cutscenes known to man, and you think of even Hideo Kojima in general, or, you know, you do think of the Telltale games, and Telltale has a lot of I mean, cutscenes is an interesting word, because I don't know if I would call them that, right? Because they're just scenes. You're just in the world, and they're talking, and you're making decisions, or you're doing quick time events. This game is on, and I am not, you know, I exaggerate in my words for sure. I'll own up to that. But this game is about 90% like non-playable. Now you're making decisions, so I guess you're pressing the buttons to say what, you know, what choice is out there. But even like quick time and the amount of time you're in the world, walking around, investigating and pressing things, honestly, I'm dead serious, is like 10%. There are long segments of time. The controller, like I did play with controller. I'm not really a keyboard mouse kind of guy, but I would put the controller on my lap. I put it on my lap and I just sat there and I watched. And this goes into the negatives, but there's some scenes that just go and go and go and go. And it's the most pointless thing you've ever seen in your life. And it doesn't stop. And you're not even playing it. So you're just watching either the cringiest dialogue ever known to man, horrible characters, bad decisions, whatever it may be. You're just watching it for very long segments of time. So why did I say it was a positive? In a way, I do like movie kind of games. They're not my preferred thing. I play games to that first word, play them. But, you know, if Telltale, if like The Wolf Among Us 2 was 90% cutscenes, I wouldn't be all that upset. And I do like these episodic games, and Telltale is more like 50-50. There's not too much gameplay going on in any Telltale game. In Life is Strange games, Life is Strange maybe a bit more, but you know what I mean? This game, though, amps that up to an 11 and said, oh, you want 50-50? Well, let's give you literally 90-10. You're going to explore the world maybe, oh my God, like 2 times per chapter. There's 5 chapters, maybe 10 times in the entire game will we let you walk around and investigate stuff. And that's it. Maybe an average. There's maybe a little bit more, a little bit less here and there, but that's about what you're going to do. So to some, they may like that. In a way, I do like that. In this game's case, though, it actually backfired. So let me take a breath and let me just talk to you about how upset I am at this game. So I played Saints Row a few weeks ago, or when it came out, actually, maybe not a few weeks ago, and that was one of the worst games I've played in a very long time. And look, let me just say this to get it out there quickly, in case people didn't know. These are just my opinions. I am a channel that respects your opinion. You can love Saints Row. You can love New Tales from the Borderlands. I have literally nothing against you. Unless you start to come after me, then we have a problem. But other than that, you're allowed to say literally whatever you want. All right, with that being said, so I think Saints Row is a terrible game. New Tales from the Borderlands really gives it a run for its money. In fact, I think New Tales from the Borderlands, in a lot of ways, is worse than Saints Row, because New Tales from the Borderlands is a 8-hour movie for the most part. Again, you play it a little bit, but for the, overwhelmingly, and the game is about 8 hours, you are sitting watching the story unfold. Now, I was scouring the internet. I think most people don't like this game, which is good. I'm actually happy about that, because this game is an abysmal attempt at, continuing the Tales from the Borderlands franchise. Some people say, well, Gearbox is better known for its gameplay, right? But the thing with this game is, and the issue is, there is no gameplay in this game. The QuickTime events are just QuickTime events. They're fine. I like them. I've always kind of liked, even when it became cool to not like QuickTime events, I still kind of like them. I really do. I don't see any problem with them. I get maybe they get in the way of the screen or whatever, but I don't have a problem with them. So, but beyond that, it's an 8-hour movie. And when you're watching it for so long, here's what you need. In a movie or in a game where you're watching the entire thing, and the whole thing is based off the freaking story. You need a story. You need characters. Let me tell you something. Octavio and Fran are some of the worst characters I have ever, and I'm including Saints Row. It's so much worse. It is so much worse. These characters literally get made fun of in the openings of the chapters. The narrator that was in Tales, that's also back here. And he literally insults them in the beginning of almost every chapter, calling them losers and idiots. And that's exactly what they are. These people are very dumb. Very dumb. They have, in my opinion, some sort of disorder where, and I don't want to go after voice actors or anything like that, because ultimately they're at the they're at the will of the writing, and they're at the will of the direction. The writing is absolutely abysmal. There are some of the most. If you wrote a game for modern day 2022, like 13-year-old, like kind of edgy, you think you're edgy, you need to tell 6 jokes in one sentence because you hope one of those jokes land. You know what kind of humor I'm talking? That's the entire game. That's the entire game. These characters will say, they'll go to like kind of toilet jokes just randomly. They'll be very, very like, I don't know. They literally switch personalities where they can kind of be more somber and calm. And then they'll just scream and say like the most weird, again, kind of edgy. And oh, this would really work for a 15-year-old nowadays. This is what 15-year-olds find funny. I just don't get it. I don't understand who in God's name wrote this game. And I'm starting to get really mad here. This game is one of the worst written games I've ever seen in my life. Period. The story is not awful. The idea of what they're doing in the story, honestly, if you watch the trailers, it gives you maybe the first half of the first chapter. All of this game really takes place after that. I mean, that's just the lead up. So I will say, going into it and playing it, I didn't know where the story was going to take me. Does it take you on like an actual story? I guess, but this game will actually do some of the most weird cuts that I have ever seen. It feels like the game forgot what happened sometimes the scene before. There are, and I mentioned it earlier, and I was kind of counting in my head the last 2 chapters because I was really fed up at that point. There are so many scenes that, I'm not kidding, go on and on and on with zero purpose. Zero purpose. They just talk to each other. There is no character building. It's all about jokes or, I guess, establishing that these people all have serious mental conditions. That it's something is going on there, and they just talk and talk and talk and talk, and the jokes go on, and it's just, they're so stupid. And Octavio, I want to say this because like maybe somebody will defend it. Octavio literally is stupid. Like they mention it in the game. This guy's an idiot. Like that's his thing. He's street smart. I would question that, but that's his thing, is he's literally dumb. But here's the thing. When you have dumb characters, when you have evil characters, let me mention that a bit too. These characters are horrible people. And I brought up, and back in the day, I brought up like Life is Strange 2, and people had a big problem with me doing that, and that's okay. Here's the thing though. In Life is Strange 2, you kind of could make your characters do bad things, and then I would get mad that that was even kind of allowed. All right, fine. You can strike me for that. But for this game, it's built into the core of these characters. These characters are bad people. Anu is the one exception, but even Anu, I won't spoil it, even though, oh my God, I won't spoil it, but as the game goes on, you realize she is also actually an awful person. So when you have borderline dumb people, and also just evil, like they don't care about anything except for making jokes, and they snap from one moment to the other where they have this kind of disorder, whatever. You have to give us something to care about. And if all the characters do is make mistakes and just do idiotic things and nothing makes sense and none of the jokes are funny and they don't have an endearing personality, how am I supposed to like them? And if you're a villain, say you're supposed to root for a villain, you gotta give us a reason why they're being, you know what I mean? Like there has to be something behind it where you could understand it. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. Again, that's what this game doesn't do. I don't care. Anu is the only one, and that's because she kind of has some, her personality, she has like anxiety and stuff, right? So she kind of freaks out sometimes, but she's very, energetic. She's very nervous when she talks, so she'll stutter or she'll make several jokes, and like she knows they're not funny. Like there is an endearing personality, I do think, to Anu. Octavio and Fran, no, there just absolutely isn't. I borderline hate these characters. And then the story, which will be the final thing I talk about here because I'm honestly done. The story, again, does it tell a beginning, middle, end? Yes, it does. At the same time, though, there are so many instances where these characters get out of things for the dumbest of reasons. And I think, again, so Gearbox and Borderlands, yes, it is a little silly sometimes, and yes, you have to withhold your benefit of the doubt that goes to the game, and you have to, all that stuff. But in Tales, and again, if you want to do it, don't do new Tales from the Borderlands, because I'm going to compare you to Tales. And Tales there are jokes, but tell me you don't care about Reese. And Reese is kind of an idiot, but not really, because he's very business smart. And honestly, Reese is only an idiot because it's a fish out of water situation. He's not used to where he is because he used to be up with corporate and now he's kind of down in the mud, right? And he also, by the way, he gets evened out by Fiona, who is very smart, right? And I still think Reese is honestly not that dumb, to be honest. But you know what I mean? So those characters, and honestly, they have endearing qualities about them. They have relationships. They do tell jokes, by the way, that are funny, but they have emotion, and they lose people, and you feel that when Reese loses people, or Fiona, or whatever, you feel it. And so if you're going to do new Tales from the Borderlands, I'm going to compare you, because you literally took the name, okay? If you're going to do that, and then you're going to completely redo the roster, I'm going to hold you up to. If you're going to do it, and you're going to say, well, the story, is never really Gearbox's strength, why would you make a story game? A game that literally lives and dies on the writing. Borderlands can get away with it because it's got the gameplay. Okay, and maybe you don't agree. Maybe you think the stories are good, whatever. I don't care. But with Tales, the story needs to be good. The characters need to be good. And when they're not good, you literally don't have a game. The quick time events, the decisions you make are not good enough to hold the game up if everything else is complete garbage. And that is the mistake that they made here. And I honestly think a lot of it is purposeful because there are Easter eggs. I won't spoil it. There's a couple of returning characters, and it made me furious, actually. It's cool when you watch. In fact, I literally told my wife, I'm like, oh my God, this character's on screen. Like, I would get excited, and then I literally, almost like I switch, and I think, I'm furious that you even thought you could do that. I'm furious. And also, I never want you to touch these characters that we love from Tales ever again, because I know how they write. I know what they did for the new characters of New Tales from the Borderlands. I will never want a sequel with Reese, Sasha, Fiona, Loaderbot. I will never want that from Gearbox. That's the worst possible choice. So in a way, I am happy that, well, they didn't need to do this game in the first place, but I'm happy that they did make a game and that it wasn't with the original cast. I want the original cast back, but let's bring Telltale back into it, please, for that. It's astounding. There are so many I know I went on a huge tangent. Let me just finish the one point. There are so many times I would tell my wife, why did that happen? Or how did that happen? Or, the whole point of this game also is like there's a healing mechanic. Let's just say that for non-spoilers. There's a thing that literally can bring you back from the dead. It just heals you. And there's so many times that because it's so overpowered, but they made it. The writers made it. Then they have to kind of retcon what it can do. They have to say, well, it only works in certain situations, or we literally don't want it to work here, so we're going to say it doesn't work, even though it has unlimited power, and we've seen it work like 10 minutes ago. It's not going to work now. That's the entire game. Guards will stand there in front of these people, ready to kill them, and they will not do anything. You'll attack a couple, and then the other guards will stand there in a cutscene. They'll stand there and do literally nothing. They'll let their companions die, and they'll just stand there. And that happens at the end, too, with like a boss where so many things you're kind of talking to people. It's like 10, 20-minute conversations, and the villain is standing there just letting you do it when they could simply take you out immediately, and they just let you go. And it's okay if it happens once or twice, but that's the entire game. You get out of things because soldiers literally eliminate themselves. I'll spoil that part without giving too much away. Characters literally eliminate themselves so that you can get out of a situation, and that's built into the game. So this is one of the worst stories I've ever seen in my life. These characters are even worse. True, I mean, I literally have not seen worse characters in, I don't even know. I mean, I say years because I can think of years, but I go back to like the PS3 era, or then like PS2, I didn't play too many. I played like, Sly Cooper and Crash. I don't know if I have too much to compare it to. As long as I've been playing games seriously in my life, I don't know if I've seen characters this bad. I don't know if I've seen story this bad. It's atrocious, and I don't know why this needed to happen. This game is, I believe, $40. I mean, at least it's not full price, and it gets you 8 hours. I mean, look, comedy is subjective, so maybe the comedy works for you, and that's okay. I'll stamp that the comedy didn't work. I thought it was some of the cringiest dialogue I've ever seen in my life. And then even beyond that, and that's subjective, that's me. Maybe you like the comedy. The story and the characters, I can't get over. And that is Tales you need that. And when you don't have it, and it's not even close. It's not even close. Replay, and if you think it is, replay Tales, and then you tell me that Fran, Octavio, and Anu, and Louie, and Timmy, and all these, you tell me that they are as good as the cast of Tales. You tell me that with a straight face, and we'll see if I believe you. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for listening to me rant. Feels good to talk about it. I'm done with this game now, and I will never go back. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I'll see you all on the next one.